Okay, this is chapter 70. Now, guys, I want you to make sure that you are reading your stuff because if you're not going to read it, I can't go over everything, and I'm trying to make these videos so that they're not super long. But this is about opera written today. Um, Opera has definitely taken in the past, let's say, 70 years. It's taken a different approach. Um, it is there's a lot of protest in opera now. They're making social statements. There's a guy named John Adams, um, who he was born in 1947, so he's still alive. He's probably the most prolific opera composer today. He's written some historic operas. Nixon in China, that's talking about the Cold War. He wrote this thing called Dr. Atomic, which is about Oppenheimer, the guy who developed the atom bomb. Um, he wrote The Fly. The Fly is a social statement that talks about what we're doing scientifically, but there's a lot of other social elements to it. These have they're not opera for fun's sake. Um, they're opera for to make a statement. Okay, I'm going to just play some of The Fly. This is a little snippets of different parts of the opera. It sounds very um, expressionistic. It's not super, we could say, uh, um, like I've said before, it's less harmonious. Although some musicals are in this direction. This takes. I mean, you're not going to go home singing many of these melodies. This is from The Fly. Yeah. Um, okay, there's a lot of people who appreciate what he's done. And Nixon in China, real similar. It's kind of, there's a lot of dueling. I've heard portions of it. It will challenge your ear. Um, uh, I could say that the Dr. Atomic it has some elements of Stravinsky in it, in that it has some ostinato and it has some things that find extremes. Um, but in addition to having it be musically set in a more contemporary fashion, it's also set staging wise in a contemporary fashion. So most of the times it's presented, it's done very creatively, very artistically. Um, uh, there's another opera that is super popular, sells out every time it's performed, and um, and that is Les Miserables. Ironically, you never see it posted as an opera. There's not spoken word in Les Miserables. Uh, it is wildly successful. They don't call it opera because I think opera is a dirty word. It's a 5-letter word. Um, I just think opera has, as I said in the earlier sections, shot itself in the foot. And current day opera isn't doing any justice to it. If there were more operas written like Les Miserables, I played Les Mis. I played it 3 times. It's a terrific work. But in it, there's arias, there's recitatives. In these operas, there are arias and recitatives, but they're all just done so differently. And I think that they're tough for people to get their arms around, not only like from the heartstring standpoint, but from a musical standpoint. It's very forgettable. And you just go, wow, yeah, boy, that was annoying music. Whereas in Les Mis, I mean, people are like going, oh my gosh, sing that one love song again. I mean, it's a great story. It's historical, but it's just done so well. Super long. I mean, it's a 3.5 hours of literal performance. So, I mean, it's a really long thing. In this whole, like, hey, what are we doing um, uh, for the stage? There was a time in the 70s when there were some rock operas that were written, and some of the rock operas that were written were like Jesus Christ Superstar. It's a rock opera. There was another one called Tommy. I want to play for you Tommy. This is a trailer from Tommy, and in Tommy there was a film actually that it was done by it was written by Roger Daltrey from The Who, but Anne Margaret and Jack Nicholson was in there, and Elton John was in it. Just some, you'll hear. Some of you have heard these tunes because some of them are pretty classic rock tunes. That's Elton John. Yeah, and usually it's around drugs and sex. Yeah. Andrew Lloyd Webber, it's a huge stage musical guy. He did Phantom of the Opera. He did Cats and Starlight Express. He did Jesus Christ Superstar, and that one happened to be religious, but it was controversial because he took some liberties with some things that people consider sacred. He put Jesus in some love interests, and kind of elevated some other characters in the scriptural stories. So pretty much anything, like for instance Tommy, ton of drug use, ton of sex. If you've seen Hair, I mean Hair actually has a scene where there's like this frontal nudity. That's just not done in the theater. I mean, it's just not done. It's like assumed that you're not going to do that kind of thing. Well, not in this one. So, rock opera became a thing. It became a genre. It was definitely a 70s, a protesty thing. It kind of fizzled out. Not many of them were really good, to be completely honest. Only a handful were good, and some are done now just as like for instance Hair is done because people want to be ridiculous and give homage to the 60s and 70s. Whatever. I'd have to say it wasn't our finest hour on the stage. There's some great opera, like I could say Les Mis. Phantom of the Opera is something that there is some spoken word, so they don't call that an opera per se. They definitely call it musical theater, but there's some that people absolutely adore. And ironically, they don't call it opera. Ironically, why do you think that is?